Okay, let's continue with the final presentation. And I think we're moving again away from the manufacturers. And we have now with us, I would say, the representative of PV Cycle, which has been mentioned by almost everyone who spoke so far. And we're happy to have with us Jan Clyncke, and he will talk about an important step, and that's the fate of every module at some point when it is not working anymore, or at least that should be the fate of any module at some point, and that's recycling. And Jan will talk about the status of the module recycling activities in the solar sector. Jan, please.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Jesse, as well, for the kind introduction. You will now see my screen, I suppose. Yes. I think you have it. The status, that was what was Michael was telling me, the status of module recycling activities today. And I immediately go to the next slide to give you a brief introduction. Share with you a little bit the material composition. You are all aware of it, but a bit the point of view from, I would say, from a recycler, waste hierarchy, a little bit prevention of waste, reuse, and waste treatment of PV panels, and you will see it all fits nicely into the ESG discussion. First of all, the composition of PV panels. Some of you might have seen already this slide. It's a common slide we are using, but I added some additional elements to open also a little bit, I would say, the mindset and the eyes of all of you regarding how a recycler looks to a PV panel. So a recycler is not interested, with all respect, of course, to the cell efficiency of a solar panel, but he is looking to what are the materials inside this product, which kind of materials are valuable or not, which kind of materials are scarce or not. So everything has an impact in his assessment. The amount of costful materials or valuable materials, and of course then the quality of the recovered materials. And I stress the last point because that's often forgotten in many discussions. People think, yeah, it's only trash, it's only waste, so we do not care much about it. No, in the recycling industry, quality and purity of the materials is a very important element. And the better you can recover pure, nicely materials like silicon or like copper or like aluminium, the pure you can recover it, so only aluminium, only copper, the better prices you will have on the market. So that's an important element which one may not forget. And all of these conditions, as I said, also define the cost of treatment and the profitability or not profitability of the recovered materials of a product. And this is irrespectively if we're now talking about a photovoltaic panel or any other kind of product. So these elements, I would at least say that's the new element I would like you to take with you after this webinar. And then you also think about these elements when having the discussion with anybody else about recycling. And then coming back to the waste hierarchy, this is the waste hierarchy as commonly known. Prevention, of course, we have to prevent waste, reuse then afterwards if we can no longer or if we do not like the product anymore and we want to throw it away. But if we do not reuse, we go into recycling. And then I would say already the worst case scenarios, you start to recovering it by waste incineration or you're landfilling it. And the PV business, I think we are, and that's also often forgotten. I also stressed it out, I think in my last presentation last year, we are doing a tremendous job in preventing waste, in preventing costs for the society. And we do this without the product guarantee of 10 years, the performance guarantee of 20 years. So I think all of you, I invite all of you using and implementing this communication much more also in your ESG communications, in any communications your company does, because we are living in a consuming society. We take it all for granted that you drink a beverage and that you throw it away, the empty can, and this is all common. And you drink every day one, so 365 days you are producing a Coca-Cola can, for example. But a PV panel, once it's installed, it really lives quite some years. And during all those years, it's not generating waste. So it's doing the number one in the hierarchy of waste management. So stress this a little bit more. We are also already fine and active in this industry in reusing PV panels and preparing them for reuse secondhand. This is also taking place. I come to this point later in the presentation. And of course, we are already able to recycle all kind of PV panels. Also the recovery, it's mainly then the smelting activities. And of course, what we avoid, and at least from our side, PV Cycle, we want to avoid landfilling. But it gives you a flavor that's also why I put it in green, that if you look to the 5 steps in the waste hierarchy, already 4 of them are green. And the 5th one, we do not want that this becomes green. So bottom line today, we're doing great. Of course, we can improve, that's for sure. And also, we have a situation that, as I said, we install a lot of PV, but there is barely something in the trash bin. So that's already a very good add-on we have today with PV panels. And then coming back to reuse, well, today PV Cycle initiated already in 2021, and that was triggered by a PV Cycle study we did in 2020. The drafting of a technical report in IEC, in the TC 82, about the reuse of PV panels. So you see that the reference of the TR report is the 63 525 edition 1. Some of you or some of your colleagues, especially from the R&D department, might attend these meetings and these discussions. We as PV Cycle, we are praying and hoping for long that this will become finally available. The idea was to have it published by 2024, but now the latest info I got from the coordinator is that it will be first half 2025. So it's a long, I would say, a long discussion then. If they will finally deliver it, it will be a 4 years discussion on this single item, you could say. But the good news is we have really more than 30 technical experts in the discussions from around the globe, which is also good. It's not a common US or European presence. People are also from South America, from India, from Africa, and Asia around the table. So the discussions are very good, but of course very technical. And yeah, at one point in time, I hope they finally also take decisions on what will be the final text that we can move forward, because this will be a very important element. If this is on the table, we have then a global, maybe not a standard, maybe not a norm yet, but at least a guiding document which you can use, which we all can use when we talk with companies claiming that they are reusing or preparing for reuse PV panels, because then you can put everybody accountable, and those who are willing to follow the TR, fine, you are in the game, and those who are not willing to follow the TR, I think we just have to say to them, look, there is the jail, and we bring you to the jail with the environmental inspection and get you out of this planet. Because one day, if we do not manage this, it will go wrong one day, I guarantee you. Maybe I will not be at PV Cycle anymore, but there will be a day that this will come alive if we do not properly solve it. Waste treatment of PV panels. So a lot of people are asking us this, how does it work? What is the track and tracing? Well, try to give you a very brief intro. I try to cover everything, but it's very simple. Once PV panels are collected, they go into a first treatment activity, and that could be a lot of things, that you just remove the aluminum frames and the junction box from the panel, and then you start a shredding process with all kind of separation techniques with water baths, infrared technology, eddy current technology. For a lot of people, if sometimes the word shredding is like dirty, well, sorry for this, but I would say 95% of how waste is treated starts with the shredding process. So I all invite you once, maybe might organize it as PV Cycle, a tour around waste treatment facilities during a week to show you a bit of flavor. How does it work in this industry? But there is nothing wrong about shredding, on the contrary. But there are a lot of techniques on separating waste, low material, heavy material, ferrometals from non-ferrometals. A lot of techniques are behind this after the shredding, and you would be surprised what then is the outcome of the material which comes out of the machinery and of the lines. But once you have done the first treatment, then you really can bring it into activities like really recycling of mono recovered materials. So when you have recovered, as I said in the beginning, pure copper, well, you can really bring it back to a copper smelter. Aluminium, the same thing. So this is really going in the line, let's say, of recycling, and something which is not able to be recycled. That could be a mixture of plastics, for example. Yes, you can send them to a waste incinerator. You can also use, that's under the name of other material recovery. You can also send it to a smelter, a copper smelter, or another precious metal smelter, who is then bringing it back to the original product again. So this is, in a nutshell, a little bit how I would say the whole process works in recycling, and irrespectively if this is now PV panels or any other product. So at that point as well, I think we have to leave the idea a little bit that there will be, or there shall be, separate treatment lines and separate completely new things to recycle solar panels, photovoltaic panels. No, it's not so special. The only speciality in a PV panel is that it's really a laminated flat glass product, and it's really put together very strongly, that it has a very long lifetime. Again, prevention of waste. But of course, to remove all the materials from one to another, that's the difficult part. But you do not need complete new invented machinery. But on the other hand, you see today, and that's what I also added in the blue dots. You see startups entering in this market and really only doing recycling of PV panels. And you see also mature existing players also stepping into the game. So today, the last 2 years, it is a very, I would say, interesting period to see what's going on. And I hope for the startups that they will survive. That's really will be their biggest challenge, because waste management business is a very cash-driven business. So it's not important that you collected the first 5 million. With you as a startup, you need immediately the next 5 million. So until you really are able to be sustainable and to have a living out of the recovered material and out of the materials you are then able to sell again into the market. And this is, I added, yes, this slide really I added for today as well, because Michael also asked me what really happens the past 2 years. Well, this happens, and the most interesting, or the most, I would say, strange thing for me at least, is that manufacturers of equipment are pushing their machinery in the so-called solar recycling market. I have never seen this before in my life. Before PV Cycle, I was working in the waste business. I never seen this. This is yeah, something completely new. I'm not judging if this is right or wrong, but it's kind of strange. And I leave in the middle if those equipment manufacturers who are pushing their machinery in the market, is this now the good machinery, yes or no? But it's a bit strange, because normally a recycling industry is not buying machinery on the shelf. So they are building their own machinery, and from time to time they will insert or purchase a part of a machinery and insert it in their own created, I would say, confidential treatment line. But you will never buy a machinery on the supermarket, let's say. And this is now what I see is happening with some companies which are then buying those machines. We will see if they will be successful or not. But what be, of course, this is not a surprise. As I just said, there are startups in recycling PV panels these days, and mature waste management companies, which are all assessing, do we step in? When do we step in? As you will see in the next slide as well, the biggest challenge is still volume, due to the fact that the long lifetime of a PV panel. And in preparation for reuse, second-hand, whatever you call it, refurbishment, I hear a lot of fancy names flirting around this planet. But in general, the activities there, majority of this business is today illegal. unfortunately. So that's why we urgently need this technical report, this guideline to really hold companies accountable for. And what is the second? And that's now I'm speaking as a producer responsibility organization, whereby we as PV Cycle, on behalf of you all producers, must achieve targets, and especially collection targets. All those tons which are so-called reuse and illegally shipped outside Europe, for example, are not reported to any WEEE register, to any e-waste register in any country in Europe. So that's this has a huge impact on the producer, and especially on the fact that he cannot reach the collection target. And in some countries, when you do not reach the collection target, you have to pay a penalty fee. So I think this is really one of the things I'm really fighting for very hard, and I will continue to fight for, that at least we grab these tons, that this is at one point in time, these tons become white and they are reported. And then also that this activity of reuse also becomes a wide business and not what it is today. And of course, an activity as well, which exists, you all know, is repair on site. Is this reuse? No, I think at that moment, nobody has decided to dispose these panels. So it's just a fix and a repair on site of the PV panel. So that's for me what I saw as the last 2 years happening. And coming back again to treatment of the PV panels, as I said, the biggest thing we still miss is volume. So where is the waste? I did not show you the slide of what we collected now the past 13 years. It's roughly 95,000 tons, more or less equal to 1.6 gigawatt. As you know, in Europe, 260 gigawatt is installed by the end of 2023. So the 1.6 to the 260, it still shows that, yes, your promise is valid. You have really a product which lives very long. And that's also a challenge, is still a challenge for anybody stepping into the recycling business. But today, everything can be recycled. On the laboratory and small-scale treatment activity, you can really achieve the recycling rate of 95% by weight. Today, I would say on average, we see it's an average recycling rate of 70%, taking into account all kind of treatment technologies, all kind of PV technologies. And we also apply BATNIC principle. As you see, that's really best available technology, but not exceeding excessive cost. As I always stated, yes, you can recycle, maybe you can achieve everything and having a 100% recycling quote. But if the legislation is only requesting 70, and you have 100% recycling cost, but it costed you $1,000 per ton, okay, what is then here the added value? The law is only requesting 70. You have lost €1,000 or $1,000 per ton. No, you can also achieve it by achieving the 75%, for example, recycling rate, and only have a cost of €200 per ton. So I think today as well, often forgotten, I think the economical factor in the whole discussion must be taken into account. And last point, even if you then look to the 70% recycling rate, you could say, well, we're still missing the 30%, which is then mainly energy recovery, mainly smelting activities. But even if you compare the 70% to other products which are on the producer responsibility in Europe, these are numbers of 2018, still the latest I could find on Eurostat. But then you only see that cars are doing better, only cars. All the rest of the products which are under producer responsibility at that time in 2018 are far below the 70% of PV panels. So my point is, we're not doing that bad at all. So we also can be proud on what we have already today. And thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Jan. Great overview, and good that you presented the latest status. So let's directly now jump into the panel.